It's all about the maintenance, baby.
Hello, IT? Have you tried turning it off and on again?
To start, press any key. Where's the any key?
Excuse me. I believe you have my stapler.
Welcome to We Are Technology's User Friendly with host Bill Sickens, Technology Architect.
And welcome to this week's edition of User Friendly. We've got a great show set up for you this week, including a number of different topics, including the latest news from the Apple Developers Conference. And the second half of our show will be an interview with a 20-year gaming technology veteran to talk about what is currently going on in the gaming industry. Before we get started this morning, I'd like to invite everybody to please participate in the show. The only thing we are missing is you. And how do you do that? Well, there's a number of different ways. You can call in. The number will be given out periodically over the show. But the other way is using modern technology is We Are Technology. Includes Facebook, user-friendly on Facebook, one user-friendly on Twitter, and the website, user-friendly.tv, allows you to submit a question. And if you send that while we're on the air, we'll use it on the air. If not, send it at any time because we'll use it next week. So with me today are my co-hosts, Gary and Gretchen. Gary, are you there?
I am here. How are you this morning?
It's great to hear your voice.
And yours.
Well, very good, very good.
Via my favorite thing, technology.
Well, technology works for all of us in that respect. And with no further ado, let's go to the technology news, Gretchen.
All right. In March 1989 at CERN, Tim Berners-Lee submitted his proposal to develop a radical new way of linking and sharing information over the Internet. The document was entitled Information Management, a Proposal, and so the web was born. Now Berners-Lee, the World Wide Web Consortium, and the World Wide Web Foundation are launching a series of initiatives to mark the 25th anniversary of the original proposal and to raise awareness of themes that are linked to the web, such as freedom, accessibility, and privacy.
So the World Wide Web turns 25, and this is very interesting. CERN, which is an organization that we've worked with for many years that runs along other things, the particle accelerator in Europe, the biggest one in the world, had a lot to do with this. In fact, it was their staff that came up with the original idea for the way the World Wide Web works. Not to be confused with the Internet, which had been around for quite some time before that. And I don't think they realized what direction or how this was really going to change just about everything we do. And here 25 years later, go ahead.
Well, it has changed everything. I mean, you just imagine even 15 years ago, it pretty much wiped out newspapers. It's radically changed advertising for television, radio, newspaper. It has connected the world in ways it truly is. The world truly is one community via the web. I mean, it's just an amazing invention.
And you know, something as users of the Internet, it's very important for us to keep on top of things and be a part. As you say, it's an open community. This has been the one big difference over many other technologies, that anybody can go on and post their message. And we've talked about it in previous shows. Keep an eye on what's going on, watch what's up, so that we have a 30th year anniversary that continues to have the open web.
Drexel.
Yeah, that net neutrality is, that's what you're referring to. It's just I think it's a very dangerous piece of legislation or regulations that the Federal Communications Commission is enacting, which will basically shut down, I think, freedom of speech in this country.
Yeah, the risk is definitely there, and it's right now. Use the Internet, go online, see what's going on, educate yourself with this, and make sure that your opinion's known to your representatives to keep the web open.
Drexel and Bally Technologies partnered to create an authentic casino learning experience for students. What makes this a reality is a donation of slot machines from one of the largest gaming technology manufacturers in the world, Bally Technology. As a part of Drexel's casino management program in the recently launched Center for Hospitality and Sports Management, this new casino training lab offers students a live operational experience of slot machine protocols and mock customer interactions in a real-time learning atmosphere. Going beyond the standard of textbooks and field trips, the slot machines enable students to study operational elements of electronic gaming equipment.
Bally is one of the largest manufacturers of gaming equipment in the world, and here in Nevada is certainly a big part of the state economy. And a little bit later in the show, we're actually going to go into a lot more detail with this with our VP in Las Vegas to see where things are at. And this initiative is actually something that is really cool to this community because it gives completely a real-time live environment for students to learn how these systems work. And really, I don't know about you, but it's been a long time since I've put a quarter in the slot. It's all about computers and technology, and the way that this stuff works is very, very in-depth and very, very much a part of the way the industry is.
LeVar Burton's Kickstarter campaign to bring back Reading Rainbow has already proved phenomenally successful, and the project's organizers are now looking to take the project to gaming consoles, mobile devices, and other places. The educational program originated Reading Rainbow, a Peabody and Emmy award-winning children's television series that was hosted by Burton and aired on PBS from 1983 to 2006. Burton relaunched it as an iPad app in 2011 and launched a Kickstarter campaign earlier this week to bring Reading Rainbow to the web and to schools everywhere. The funding drive had a goal of $1 million, which would have allowed the Reading Rainbow organization to provide the software for free to 1,500 schools in need. Contributors blew past the original goal in 11 hours. In less than 3 full days since the beginning of the campaign, it has pulled in more than $2.85 million from over 64,000 backers. Burton has announced a stretch goal of $5 million, which will allow more schools to be assisted.
Now, that actually is at $3.3 million as of the time of the show,
Oh.
and which is absolutely wonderful. This topic is very important because it has to do with something that's very personal to me, and that's literacy. And I have to agree with the position of LeVar Burton on this, that literacy is really a fundamental right and part of being human. And there are so many people in the world that don't have this available to them. And to see a show like Reading Rainbow come back in a digital form for the modern era is something that is absolutely wonderful. And being able to do it as a campaign that I don't know of any school out there that's not in need in some way. And to be able to offer this in an environment for free, I think is so important. So this is just an example of how crowdsourcing and that type of fundraising can work, and a project that is very, very important to technology and just to us in the general world around us.
Google plans to spend more than $1 billion on a fleet of satellites to extend internet access to unwired regions of the globe, hoping to overcome financial and technical problems that thwarted previous efforts. Details remain in flux, but the project will start at 180 small, high-capacity satellites orbiting the Earth at lower altitudes than traditional satellites, and then could expand. Google's efforts to deliver internet service to unserved regions through balloons, drones, and satellites are consistent with its approaches to other new markets.
In today's market in big cities, there's 2 primary ways usually to access the internet, and that's cable providers and telephone company providers such as DSL and what we have here called Uverse, which exists in other places under other names. And what Google hopes to do here is bring high-speed connectivity outside of the large cities in the idea that they will offer it via satellite access. Now, being someone that's used satellite internet access in the past, at one time in my life I lived in a beautiful spot, but we barely had electricity, much less high-speed internet access. It was a lot of lag and didn't work as well. And Google's new system hopes to address this by reducing the lag time and all the rest of it to allow for the use of things like VoIP and those type of services online in real time, even though it is a satellite connection. Now, next we have our guest, Evan, who is going to give us some information on the Apple Developers Conference.
Thank you, Bill. Each year, Apple hosts a developer conference where they announce major updates to their suites of software products. This year, Apple announced the upcoming releases of their desktop operating system, OS X, and their mobile device operating system, iOS. The updates include many new features designed to make each system integrate with each other in new and exciting ways. The new version of their desktop system, called OS X 10.10 Yosemite, includes a visual overhaul inspired by iOS, bringing in the modern translucent decor and clearer text. Apple is also updating the notification center that was introduced in 10.9 to include an agenda-like view, letting you see information about your upcoming day, as well as supporting a new widget system to allow for other developers to give you up-to-date information on the things that matter to you. Spotlight, the system that allows you to search for files and programs around your Mac, is also getting a large update. The new version will now be able to also search for your contacts, messages, destinations, and information around the web. On the mobile front, Apple announced iOS 8, which which brings a host of new features and apps. Siri, Apple's intelligent personal assistant, is going hands-free. Users will now simply be able to say, "Hey Siri," and it will automatically appear and be ready to help. HealthKit is a new centralized healthcare app designed to track personal health and fitness data. HealthKit will work with third-party apps and companies like Nike and the Mayo Clinic, allowing users to track and examine their fitness trends and see their progress over a period of time, all from a single location. Other updates to iOS include QuickType, a new update to the keyboard system that will learn your typing habits and make suggestions as you type, a new family sharing system that will allow 6 members of your family to share apps and music across devices, and interactive notifications that will allow users to respond and reply to certain notifications like a text message without having to switch applications. Apple also announced several new features to promote integration between their two platforms. Handoff, a new feature of OS X and iOS, will allow you to share work across devices by allowing you to start working on one device and move seamlessly to another without missing a step. The new system will also allow you to recognize when your iPhone is near your Mac and allow you to enable the hotspot feature with just a couple of clicks. Apple's chat message system, Messages, is receiving updates on both mobile and desktop that will allow users to place phone calls from their computer through their iPhone, as well as send and receive regular text messages to contacts who do not already use Apple's instant messaging system. Messages will also now feature the ability to record and send short audio or video clips, as well as sharing your current location with a contact for a short period of time. And finally, Apple announced iCloud Drive, an update to their cloud-based backup system designed to compete with other cloud backup systems like Dropbox or Google Drive. iCloud, introduced in 2011, allowed users to seamlessly back up and share documents and photos. And the new iCloud Drive will now allow users to also back up their own files and share them easily across devices.
Thank you, Gary. In our last 10 seconds, which is it, Windows or Mac?
Oh, you know something? The problem I have with Apple is they keep changing stuff, and I'm wondering how much of the stuff that I have, some of the older stuff that I have, some of the older programs and stuff, how will they work with the new system? And Apple these days doesn't tend to be finished designing like things like iMovie and updating Pages, which is their Word program. And they don't finish them before they launch these things. So I'd be really curious to see how well Apple did this update.
Well, I guess we will.
Is it really finished?
I guess we will have to wait and see. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to User Friendly. Please remember to send us your questions and comments. User Friendly on Facebook, user-friendly.tv on the web, and One User Friendly on Twitter. And for the second half of our show, I would like to introduce Chaz Wellington, who's our Vice President of Operations for the Las Vegas office. Hello, Chaz.
Hey, Bill. How are you today?
Pretty good, and yourself?
Wonderful. It's a great tech day.
Now, I know before we're going to get into a lot of details having to do with casino gaming, but before we start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I've been with Cumulus Technology for about 7 years. I'm a production director, Las Vegas, for User Friendly. I've been involved in the casino industry for 20 years and earned my master's in hospitality administration from UNLV in 2011. I'm certainly excited about this venture and look forward to accomplishing our mission via this program. And most importantly, I'd like to state that I'm representing no other entity except We Are Technology.
Well, that's great. That's who we want you to represent.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all right. So, you know, we'd mentioned it in the first half of the show. Being a Nevada native myself, you grow up with the gaming industry, and it used to be that you walk into the casino and put your quarter in the slot machine, and maybe you'll win and maybe you won't. And it seems like things have changed a lot since those days. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, they've definitely changed. They've become certainly more interactive. The slot machines in today's casinos, they actually guide the players to participate in many different ways. This comes from their everyday lives through movies, their games that they play at home on their mobile apps and other such things like that. And they have always wanted to make a connection with the player so that they return to the casino. So in today's games, you have 3D screens, you have slot machines that sometimes the screen actually goes blank, has an arrow pointing up for them to look up for the bonus round. It's certainly a situation where, of course, you mentioned putting a quarter in a slot machine. That really doesn't exist anymore. It's all paper, and payouts are made at the cage.
Now, the slot machine itself is basically a computer now, isn't it?
It certainly is.
So what is progressive? Where it actually, from what I understand, these are things like your megabucks and stuff that can actually keep track of who's playing statewide, nationwide. That's all just network-based technology, isn't it?
Yes, that's network-based, and each progressive is maintained through the casinos and are paid out from the whole at the winning casino.
Now, I can remember a time when walking into the casino with a smartphone, like an Android or an iPhone, would have gotten you a very kind but still a visit from security. What is the current thoughts on that? And where are we? Am I allowed to make a phone call from the casino floor today?
You can make a call from the casino floor, and I have to say that you can't at the table. Initially it was a big scare. Still, of course, they're banned from the table games, and same goes for any electrical device such as cameras and smartwatches. 95% of people just simply aren't aware that that's the rule. They're there to have a good time, and the furthest thing from their mind is, being told not to make a call. But they do have to stand up from the table, away from the table, and turned away from the table to use any device such as that.
And is this, you'd mentioned watches, so does this include, can I sit at the poker table with my Google Glass?
No, you cannot. It's my understanding that wearable computers such as Google Glass are still banned from the casino floor. Anything of the like are certainly not allowed at the table games, and staff will simply ask them to remove them and store them away.
And so why are they banned? I mean, what's the big deal?
Well, one is, privacy. You don't want people recording other people gaming. Game protection. We can't have our games recorded. And simply it's gaming law that you cannot have a recording device at the table.
I know this was a big deal when the glass started coming out to the consumer market about a year ago now, that the Nevada and I believe New Jersey Gaming Board had both initially banned it, and then my understanding now, though, is the complete regulation outside of being able to sit at a table, i.e. whether or not you're allowed on the property, is up to the property owner. Or is that still a regulation of the Gaming Board itself?
There can be a gray area there for the property manager. But overall, it's not allowed. And just like any camera, if you bring a camera to the casino, you're not allowed to film or take pictures of the ceiling. You're not allowed to point the cameras to table games. And same thing would go with Google Glass if they're observed recorded.
And if someone comes in and didn't know the rules and did that, would it just be simply someone would ask them to stop, or is there a more serious repercussions?
Oh, they would just ask them, could you please store them away? They're not allowed at the table games.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So the next question I have for you is, we've seen that they're starting to legalize things like online poker. Where are we with online gaming?
Well, online poker is still very new. Nevada's a very small internet poker market. A bit of fear was struck at the poker rooms. They were kind of afraid of taking a lot of business away, but it's still a small percentage. And when you get down to it, no matter the technology, there's no match for the excitement and atmosphere of live poker. In Nevada, residents of any state or country can register to play on the websites. The gambler, however, has to physically be playing on a computer or mobile device located within the state's borders in order to place a wager.
Oh, so they would have to actually be physically in the state of Nevada to even use the online poker system?
That is correct.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. So what about other games? Can I play Baccarat on my phone and for real money yet?
I don't believe so.
Okay. So it's going to be interesting to see where that heads. I know that there's definitely two sides to that issue, and this is something that's going to be a big deal as this develops, and I think we see new technology start to play its way out with these things. So the next thing that is a technology base is when you go into a casino, it used to be that you got comps and those type of things, and now there's a plastic player's card, which reminds me a lot of the card I have at the grocery store. Are these what you're seeing as the direction going? Do they still use paper systems, and how does that work?
Okay, we do have a manual tracking system, which we fill out a player rating slip. And this rating slip, it tracks the game that you're on, tracks whether you buy with cash, checks, or markers, which markers are casino credit, your average bet and your time played. And it is time-consuming. It takes away from game protection. But there are systems out there, such as TableView and Bravo, that are coming into the light. And these track your play and allows you to gain comps such as rooms, shows, not private events, but entry into events that special events at the casino have. But it is a loyalty card that actually makes a connection with a player to come back and play at their casino.
So that's the idea, is to drive people back, and you would come in and register for this, I would assume?
Yes, you would come into the Players Club and register for a card at any casino.
Now the
nice thing about the table view and Bravo systems are that it takes away from the paper, so you have more time for game protection.
Okay. Now my big question that I was going to ask, and this is of course what's important to me, is it still possible to get a free buffet?
Not as easy as it used to be.
I figured that out.
Yeah, those days are long gone.
Well, it's probably bad in some ways, but probably good for me, and my doctor would definitely be happy about that. So, okay. And then the next thing here, and I have a note on this topic that says to not go into too great a detail on this because otherwise men in black suits will come talk to me on the air. But can you talk a little bit and touch upon security in casinos and some of the things that are being done with that?
Sure. Well, our biggest advantage in casinos are the cameras and the facial recognition. And to give an idea of how advanced this tech is, there's a story on CNN May 31st that explained that New York City is planning on tracking every pedestrian, every citizen in the city.
Wow.
For whatever reason. And, in fact, the NSA, a story, had grabbed millions of images for facial recognition from email, social media, video conferencing, and other sources. So you can see how advanced this technology must be for them to even pursue that. But, security in casinos are the eyes of the individuals, the staff, security mainly, but our backup are the cameras.
Now that sounds very interesting, and I know there's, again, two sides of that issue with the being photographed and tracked all the time, but it would seem like there's a difference between being on the street of New York and being actually in a private property where they're conducting gaming.
Yeah, the difference there is that in the public areas, they'll be reported their activities, but as I said, any type of security system in the casino is simply for backup, support.
And I could certainly see where safety would be a part of it. So all of this put together, are you seeing technology in general being used for a lot of cheating and that type of thing? Has this been a problem for casino operators?
It used to be in the past, but, it's a very serious crime to use any device other than your mental ability to play these games, and you just don't see that anymore. There are more instances with slot machines rather than table games, but
really,
devices are not a problem anymore because the seriousness of the crime, the penalties have gotten largely more harsh.
How do people especially older people, how are they reacting to technology and gambling? Like, I go in and I don't play very often, but I go in to play a slot machine, and I can't figure out how it works.
You can't figure out how the table games work, or?
It sounds like the slot machine, Gary. My goodness, maybe it's time for me to take a trip to the Pacific Northwest, and we can go figure that out ourselves.
Well, I can't figure it out. It doesn't make any sense. But
well, I'll tell you what. As far as we are going with all of that, we will have to take that on as a future topic. I want to thank everybody that has joined us this week for User Friendly. There's a rumor in the mill that we're going to be going to an hour format pretty soon, and it looks like we're definitely going to need it here.
Great.
Boy, that went by fast. Well, listen, everybody have a wonderful week. Give us your questions, and we'll talk to you next week. Thank you.